Alrighty. I wanted to talk briefly, excuse me, about the Black Lives Matter movement and the direction that it's heading, and just my personal opinion on everything that's happened recently. We had shootings in Dallas where I believe 5 officers were confirmed killed. We had like 11 or 12 wounded, which is absolutely horrid in my opinion. I mean, anyone with compassion in their heart is also agreeing with me on that. But I wanted to talk real quick about Black Lives Matter. I am saying this from the point of a mixed race person. I am half white, half Latino, um, so I guess my privilege hasn't been checked. But just want to talk real quick about some of the issues that I believe Black Lives Matter and its supporters are focusing on, and why they should be focusing on those matters, and why they should be focusing on other matters that I believe are more important and would make the movement more respected in a way. Um, okay, so let's say I had looked up some stats here. I didn't copy down the website, but I'll have to leave a link in the description because I'm still on it on my computer. I made a list of the rate per 1,000 deaths by law enforcement officers on black teenagers and white teenagers. And I thought the stats were interesting. So I'm going to share this with you guys right now. First, I made the list of the more blacks who were killed. I didn't compare this to the whites that were killed because there were a significant number of whites also killed. I just took down the blacks and the whites in separate categories. So which was the most alarming to me, was in Oklahoma, and that number was going to be 1 out of every 1,000. So that sounds, very alarming. 1 out of every 1,000, you know, that's crazy. Um, and I first read that statistic and I was very alarmed, and I was kind of like, whoa, like I guess police brutality, is kind of a thing. But then I sat back and I thought about it for a second, and I was like, okay, if you look at crime rates in bad neighborhoods of Oklahoma, they are much, much higher than crime in white neighborhoods still in shitty places. It's like if you take a bad part of a neighborhood in Kentucky and you compare the crime rate to a bad neighborhood in Oklahoma or Atlanta, it's vastly different. The black neighborhoods that have crime are vastly superior in crime rate. There's more stabbings, more shootings, more deaths, more robberies, more theft than in white neighborhoods. I'm not saying it doesn't go on in white neighborhoods. It still does. It very well does. Just not, I would say, at a little bit under a third of what happens in black neighborhoods. So, like I said, Oklahoma was 1 per 1,000. Nevada was zero point 0.9 out of 1,000. Another interesting one was Maryland, which was zero point 0.5 out of 1,000. And then Georgia. I picked Georgia, which was zero point 0.2 out of 1,000. Now that's just for black teenagers killed by law enforcement. And again, this is raw stats. This is not like the officers' actual reports in as to why they shot. I mean, like, I don't know, exactly the full story of every officer who was shot at a black teenager in Oklahoma. I don't know all the stories, all the stats. These are just raw numbers. Before I get to crunching them. So now let's look at whites. Obviously, significant less white people are killed than black people by law enforcement officers. And you're going to say, oh, well, see, that's proof of law enforcement officers being biased and being, racist or whatever. But you got to sit back and think for a second. Let's remove the blinders, the BLM blinders. Like I just said earlier, if you take a bad neighborhood that's white, the crime rate is going to be high, but not nearly as high as the crime rate in a black neighborhood that's poor. So here I have Oregon, which was zero point 0.3 out of 1,000. I had New Mexico, which is where I'm going to college in a couple weeks, was zero point 0.4 out of 1,000. Arizona was zero point 0.2, and both Alabama and Kentucky were zero point 0.1. Now those numbers are very low compared to the black numbers, but like I said, if an officer is to stop a white person, they are probably more likely, again, I don't have stats for this, I'm going off of stories that have been reported on in the past. Black people are more likely to when they're stopped by an officer and the officer says, "Hey man, what you doing out tonight? We noticed you're coming from a well-known drug neighborhood. Can I see your ID? Like, what's going on tonight? You're out at 12 o'clock with a big backpack. What's going on?" The black person is probably more likely to resist arrest, to run, to not comply with the officer's orders, which is why the officer resorts to shooting them. Is that the right thing to do? That's up for a moral debate. The white person is more likely to give up when they're caught. All right, officer, you know what? I was selling drugs. I was buying drugs. I was with a friend. They might try to lie about it and, try to get their sentence reduced or try to get their crime reduced, to get out of it. But they won't run. They won't resist as much as black people will. And, people say, "Oh, well, why did he stop a black person for no reason?" If you watch the TV show Cops, and, that is a reality TV show. There is, some parts that are supposed to be exaggerated. But I believe firmly that, before the officers make a stop on anyone, whether they're walking or they're in a vehicle, and the camera, the camera films the camera crew is filming, sorry, the officer will say, "You know what, we had just seen this car, he's not using his turn signal, and he was coming from a well-known drug neighborhood. We're going to make a stop to see what's going on. We had seen him stop for about 5 minutes and, make a quick exchange. We're going to see if he has any narcotics in the vehicle." They already know. So, people who are like, "Hey, why'd you stop me, man?" They're already 2 steps ahead of the game. They already know what you're doing. They're just waiting for you to fess up. They want you to man up and be a man and accept it and own it and not try to run and hide about it. So when an officer stops you and, they probably are approaching you, somewhat hostile, they probably already know that you're doing something illegal. And you resisting, you not complying, you not giving your ID, you giving a fake story, you giving a fake name, that doesn't help. Okay? So the whole thing that happened with Alton Sterling, which if you don't know, I'm sure you have, unless you've been living under a rock, was a man, I don't know his exact age, I believe he was close to 40 years old. He was apparently selling CDs outside of a gas station store, kind of late at night. Apparently there was a call to 911 operators about a man outside harassing customers, making threats. And new story is, this is a cut of the story. New updates have released online on Twitter, which is why I don't really believe this, that Alton Sterling wasn't the man that was the suspect in the 911 call. He wasn't the person doing that, which is bullshit. If you're getting your real news from Twitter, you need to really seriously reevaluate yourself, because Twitter is obviously skewed. BLM activists are full on rage on Twitter. They're gonna make up anything for you to get behind their cause. Excuse me one second. Sorry about that. So apparently this guy was just selling CDs, apparently he had a firearm and he's making threats to customers outside. The owner of the store, phoned 911 and he was like, "You know what? There's a guy outside my store harassing customers. I want you to send a unit out here." They sent a unit out there. The guy, again, I don't know the full story. According to police reports, the guy was selling CDs. The cops pulled up. They were like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" He didn't want to give his name. He didn't want to. He kept asking, "Why are you stopping me? Why am I being detained?" He's one of those, sovereign dudes. Well, why? Well, why? Well, why this? Well, you have to see my ID for what? Well, what am I doing? Well, for what? Well, why? That kind of shit. Think about arguing with like your little brother or sister or something. When they do that, that's fucking annoying, and you get so fucking pissed. And cops are human too. We forget that cops are people. They have emotions. They get angry just like we do. They get frustrated just like we do. They have to do a job. They probably face shit like that and people like that, dumbass people like that, probably like, I would say at least 100 times a week, dealing with that dumb shit. If a cop stops you and you don't want to get shot, and you're afraid to get tased or whatever, you don't want to get taken down to the ground, just fucking comply. It makes so much sense to me. As a Latino white American, just fucking comply with law enforcement, man. If I have a baggie of marijuana on me and the cops pull up on me out of nowhere, and I suspect, all right, they might know about it, and they're asking me, and they're, "Hey man, you're kind of nervous, you got anything on you? Like, what's going on?" I'm just gonna give it up. I'm not gonna try to lie, because the officers are gonna send out a canine. They're gonna find out. They're gonna get you. You're already caught. Just give up the act. Don't fucking fight, because it makes it worse. If an officer asks for your ID, just fucking give your ID. Fuck. If you want to go about your day and you're not doing anything illegal, you're not doing anything wrong, Just fucking give your ID, and they'll go check you for warrants. They'll run your name in the system. They'll give you your ID back. And you know what, sir? I'm sorry for stopping you. I just wanted to make sure you're doing all right. You have a nice day. And that'll be it. There will be no fucking rest in peace, Alton Sterling. There won't be any of that shit. But if you fucking fight it, if you fight the law, they're gonna fight back. And that only makes the assumption that you are doing something illegal or that you're gonna commit something, you know, some crime. That only makes that assumption stronger when you're gonna fight law enforcement. It's kind of like when you get caught in a lie and then you keep lying. That only makes it seem like you're a fucking liar. Like you're more of a liar. Sorry, I don't want to cuss all that much, but it frustrates me that people say that, like, you know, they stopped him for no reason, or, you know, he wasn't doing anything wrong. If an officer stops you, especially if they have you on the ground, if an officer takes you to the ground, at no point after that should you fucking fight, because they're gonna call for backup. They're gonna have like 6 guys on you. They're gonna be kneeling on the back of your head, on the ground, on the hard pavement. It's not comfortable. It's not fun. They're gonna be handcuffing you. They're probably gonna tase you. You know, they're gonna do anything to get you to comply. So why would you want that? Why would you want to get tased? Why would you want that? If you want to know why you're being arrested, just comply. And when they sit you in the back of the car, when they're questioning you, officer, why am I being stopped? Why am I being arrested? Can I know why this is happening? But when officers pull up and you're already being defiant, and then they tell you, all right, man, you need to put your hands behind your back. We have suspicions that you're doing something illegal, and you just keep fighting. And then when they have you on the ground and you're fidgeting your arms to make it look like you're going to reach for something, and then they shoot you, you cannot fucking tell me that you didn't deserve that shit, because you're obviously asking for it. If I come up to a cop with a fucking knife and I'm charging at him and he says, drop the knife, there's fucking plenty of videos of body cam officers, which is where they're wearing a body cam, they're pointing the gun at the crazy guy who has the knife, and they're saying multiple times, dude, drop the gun. Dude, drop the knife. Dude, drop it. Drop it. Drop it. Get on your knees. Show me your hands. Drop it. Drop it. They're giving you chance after chance after chance to save your own fucking life. They don't want to shoot you. You think cops fucking put on that uniform and that badge and they go to work expecting to shoot someone? You think they sleep well at night knowing that they fucking killed another human being? You think the cops that are involved in the Alton Sterling shooting, they don't feel fucking guilty as hell? You don't think they're getting death threats from people that have gotten their address? You don't think they're scared for themselves or their families or their colleagues at work over that shit? You think the fucking cops give each other high fives for shooting black people? You're fucking retarded if you think that. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely asinine to think that. The cops fucking go around and they're jolly to kill black people or any people for that matter. It's ridiculous. So enough of that, okay? That's something that I see, and just like the Mike Brown case, you know, activists want to get all fucking riled up when they don't know the whole thing. You know, people were saying hands up, don't shoot, and then when that shit was disproven, it turned from hands up, don't shoot to Black Lives Matter. That Black Lives Matter wasn't a thing. That shit was hands up, don't shoot, and it got changed because they got proven wrong. Ballistics and CPU data showed that Mike Brown didn't have his hands up. And even if he did, he fucking reached in the car for the officer's gun. That was proven. So, it doesn't make sense to me why they're activating for people like that. It doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, let me get to my original point here. BLM activists want to, you know, cry out loud when a black person is shot by the officers for what they perceive to be for no reason. Obviously, there is going to be reasons why you get stopped, why you get shot, all that extra stuff. I have a question for you BLM activists. There is a case in 2015, I believe it was in August, so it's somewhat still recent, you know, it's still fresh. A 9-year-old girl was in her home doing homework in Ferguson, which is where Mike Brown was killed. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce her name. I think it's Jamila Bolden, 9-year-old girl doing her homework in her house. I believe her mother was not home. I think she was out at work. I'm not too sure about that though. She was, again, like I said, doing her homework, minding her business. 9-year-old girl. A car pulled up outside of her house and lit the house up with gunfire. A hail of bullets. The bullets struck her, killed her, and the car drove away. And they were doing a drive-by shooting and what they perceived to be another gangster's house, a rival gang member's house. So why is it that on Twitter I'll see a post about this girl, you know, a picture of her, a nice picture of her school outfit or whatever, And it's just like, rest in peace, Jamilo. You will be missed. We love and we'll never forget you. What the fuck? Why are activists not fucking outraged? Why are they not saying we should be fucking we should call for those men's heads? They fucking killed an innocent girl over some gang shit? Why are activists not saying fuck this gang shit? Stop black on black violence. That is the issue. Stop discriminating against blacks. Stop this light skin, caramel skin, dark skin fucking bullshit. We're all black. We all need to be unified. Because right now, it appears to be that our lives matter. And they do matter. I'm not saying black lives don't matter. I'm just saying what the movement is focused on right now is the wrong shit. It's not right. It's the wrong shit. They're focusing on fucking criminals. Alden was a criminal. The guy that got killed, Alton Sterling, he was a lifelong criminal. He was a registered sex offender. Does that mean he deserves to get shot 6 times? No, it doesn't. But you know what does warrant getting shot 6 times? Fidgeting on the floor when officers have you already pretty much arrested. They have you down. You're done, man. You're giving up. And you continue to fight and you reach for something in your pocket. That right there is more than enough reason, in my opinion, to shoot you. Because you got to think about it like this. All you activists want to cry when this happens, but think about it like this. Let's say it was your mom or your dad who was the officer. Would you want your dad or your mom to risk their life and risk not coming home over some fucking shitty criminal? Some shitty person who isn't even a pillar in the community. This guy wasn't a fucking Harvard graduate. He wasn't an outstanding citizen. He wasn't like helping the poor. He was selling CDs, illegal pirated CDs. He was carrying weapons on him. He had a vast criminal history. He wasn't a good person. People want to advocate for that, and you're gonna want would you want your parents to risk their lives over some shit ass fucking human being like that? Or would you want them to be sure that they make it home safe that night? Because it's on them. And it happens like that in a split second where it's life or death. It's you or the criminal. You let him get away or you shoot him to keep him there. You shoot him to save your own life or you let him hit you or shoot you. It happens like this. There's been hundreds of times where law enforcement agencies have brought people forward like, hey man, take this test real quick. It's a quick simulation of what officers go through every day. And the people always end up shooting. And the officer's like, hey man, why'd you shoot? What the fuck? Why'd you shoot him? And the people are like, oh, well, I panicked. Duh, there you fucking go. You don't think officers panic? They're people too. We already went over that. Officers have emotions too. They get nervous. They panic. They have to think on their toes all the time. They have to be on their toes all the time on their job. Black Lives Matter, you need to focus on black violence. You gotta stop that shit. Because cops shooting criminals is never going to stop. That is what keeps society together. Because if you let criminals run afoot, if you let people like Mike Brown rob stores and jaywalk and not get punished for that, does he deserve to get shot for jaywalking? No. But does he deserve to get shot for reaching for a gun and then charging at an officer? Yes. You need to focus on innocent people who have been killed by your own people. You need to stop discriminating against your own people and stop this fucking light-skinned, dark-skinned back and forth shit. You're all people. You see Asian people making fun of, like, did you see Japanese people make fun of fucking Korean people? You never see that shit. You never hear about it. They're all people. Yeah, they have their differences in the past, of course. Every people have. You know, even Indian tribes, they're all Native American, but they all have their differences, but they've come to live in peace and harmony. Black people always want to fucking bicker with each other, and then with other people. Just fucking let it go, man. Just let it go. You need to form a strong community bond with each other. You gotta focus on important stuff and not on criminals. Focus on innocent children and innocent people being killed for no apparent reason, not because they were fighting law enforcement. There's a big difference. And I think people need to start realizing that and wake up and not just see some shit on Twitter, retweet it, and get all fucking mad and pissed about it. Because I'm getting sick and tired of it. It's enough, alright? It's getting pretty fucking stupid.